Come, let us explore odd meditation adaptations for frequent flyers. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. And yes, right now I am multitasking rather badly. Okay. The question begins. How to stay consistent when it comes to traveling and not having the same space, the same routine? The individual who wrote this question continues. I love to meditate, but my practice often drops off whenever I'm not in my usual routine. How do y'all find space and time when in a similar situation? This is a delightful question. Let us begin with a bit of the old broad brushstrokes. Let's begin with the 7 enlightenment factors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th enlightenment factors are energy, joy, and tranquility. Whoops. Thus, it's safe to assume that these things are pleasurable. These things cause us to generate dopamine. We need to meditate in such a way that it is so downright pleasurable that the hedonistic centers of our brain find the thought of missing a meditation session to be inconceivable. And we'll explore how to do that in a few moments. Let's continue. I have a bunch of disabilities. So when planning a trip, I'll think of just 1 or 2 things that are important to me on the trip, and I will spend time anticipating the trip, planning or imagining various ways I could get those needs met. For instance, my daily workout or meditation practice. So when I am aware that I will be approaching a different circumstance, I begin enthusiastically anticipating ways of adapting, not as a chore, but as a fun game. A question we can, as a way of exploring just how well we can improvise and adapt and overcome. When I was a little boy, one of the first grown-up movies I ever saw was Marathon Man. And there's a scene where the protagonist's brother is doing elevated push-ups in his hotel room. And I was just so impressed that this guy was traveling. He was in a ritzy place, and without going to the gym, he would do a body weight workout. I didn't even know the term body weight workout. I was in elementary school. But it impressed the hell out of me. That degree of resourcefulness. So let's talk brass tacks. Traveling can be a 3-ring shit show, can't it? There are so many factors. As we go through life, there are so few things we can control. And once we start traveling, even those are diminished. We can't control the loudness of our environment or how densely it's populated. If we're on a plane, we cannot control the roaring of the engines or the squalling of the infants or the bouncing of the turbulence. But there's some things we can do. When it's time to meditate and we find ourselves on a plane, we can place our feet flat on the floor. We can scooch our tush to the edge of the seat. We can generate a vertical traction between our head and our tuchus. We can rest our hands palms up or palms down upon our thighs, and maybe even cause our hands to meet between the thighs. Palms up, of course. No need to be salacious and frighten the other travelers. It's possible to meditate. We don't have to chant. We don't have to sing. We can sit there quietly and meditate. Now you might say, but how can I meditate in the presence of distractions? That begs the question, which part of your brain are you meditating with? Are you meditating with your prefrontal cortex? Or are you meditating with your autonomic nervous system? That really makes the difference. Let's explore that right now. Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, and not in the fun, tingly way. The majority of meditation teachers, therefore, tend to be rigid, fearful, suspicious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, and oddly, these are the most popular meditation teachers. So when these teachers get down to the practice of teaching people how to meditate, most of them, to a man, will implore their students to actively focus and actively analyze. And those might not be the exact same words they use, but that's the idea. Well, what's wrong with that? The only way to practice either of those things, or both of those things, is to rely upon very discrete neurological mechanisms, such as those found in either our medial prefrontal cortex or our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is a fabulous tool. If you want to sort, if you want to compare, if you want to contrast, if you want to edit, if you want to analyze, it's great. But it's kind of like a Stradivarius violin. Virtuoso, but fragile. And once we overdo it with our prefrontal cortex, our amygdala gets stimulated. This lumpy looking pea thing right here. This thing that is actually the seed of anxiety and aggression. So how ironic is it that in the name of peace, we wind up exacerbating our anxiety and aggression? So, fortunately, the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala are not the only two organelles in the central nervous system. Let's look at three others. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, whether we're aware of it or not, we are wired to effortlessly and automatically access our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us perceive in a very special way, to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. This is not at all yang. This is yin. This is not at all hard. This is soft. This is not rigid, it's flexible. This is not controlling, it's laid back. And so the cool thing is, these spiritual virtues are not psychological abstractions. They're rooted in our physiology. So what is it that we are wired to perceive? Well, of course we're wired to perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. But we're also wired to perceive such things as emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Well, that could seem overwhelming. What are we to do with all these things that we notice? Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are wired to access our parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within both the lower third as well as the upper third of that same spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now, you might say, dude, I already have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. Why aren't I peaceful? Why aren't I just radiating bliss? Simple. In a word, Urkel. Due to a quirk of evolution, our cerebral cortex is as jam-packed as the personal storage center of a hoarder. And like Urkel, it's just like Urkel, it can be clever, but it sure is klutzy. But there's a fix, an easy fix. When we silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this, the cerebral cortex can't help but cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system. Similarly, when we silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, this exact same cerebral cortex can't help but cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system. Just like a smartphone ain't no fun without apps, we can't make our brain, our central nervous system meditate without these two monosyllabic words, recited in harmony with our phases of breath, facilitating perception and release, the same perception and release that have been classically described as mindfulness and meditation. But what about the bliss? Glad you asked. Number 1, regular practice of this mindfulness and meditation could calm our anxious and aggressive amygdala. Number 2, regular practice of this mindfulness and meditation could excite this weird-looking pink thing. The big kids call this the anterior cingulate gyrus. We could think of it as that which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy and compassion and love. The late Tulku Thondup insisted that the highest love was not the product of concentration or analysis, but rather the spontaneous and uncontrived byproduct of mindfulness and meditation. Number 3, the more we practice this mindfulness and meditation, the more our choices and utterances and deeds will flow with the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, not scattered spontaneity, not contrivance, but centered spontaneity. So this is the key to escaping the rigidity of concentration. This is the key to maximizing the pleasure found in meditation. And I think you'll agree that the less aggressive we are, the more empathetic we are, and the more we are in the zone, the better our business trip will be, the better our vacation will be, the better our lives could be. Forgive me, I'm terribly tired and I'm tripping over my own tongue. I suspect it could be great fun if together as a team we did a bit of chanting and did a bit of meditating. After approximately 30 seconds, whoopsie, what's going on here? After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, much more, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Tonight, let us play with the latest iteration of all good iconography and meditation. Un momento. Whew. I'm not going to say it's hot here in Southern California, but if you listen quietly, you can hear my air conditioner pant. Let us open this evening's practice by chanting Mahayoga's Love and Release, wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. Gotta make it pretty. Let's chant together as a team. Now, by the way, this chanting is not a petition to a real or imagined celestial entity. This chanting are just words we're using to guide our intention, to guide our mind, to guide our energy, to influence the world in which we dwell, directly or indirectly, immediately or eventually, overtly or surreptitiously, actually or potentially. May all lots of all beings appearing yet for no be as safely fortunate as a pure land of law depicted in Buddhist paintings. May all minds of all beings lucid yet for no be as peacefully enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one suitable bija. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void no be as joyfully loving as a Buddhist speech symbolized by a mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void no be as beautifully healthy as a Yidamokta depicted in Buddhist statuary. Let us begin with Mahayoga's iconography and chant. The nudity of the all good ones remind us that with inhalations this we are wired to mindfully notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Vadachana Karma Mudra, Zom Space Element at a crown wheel, is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger. Oopsie. Is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger gently upon the tip of our left. And so, by way of review, the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, thus facilitating perception that is vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting. Similarly, the most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation, thus facilitating both physical relaxation as well as mental release. So, together as a team, let us gather or collect 144 rounds. But what's a round? A round is simply one inhalation followed by one exhalation. So we're going to count 12 sets of 12 repetitions. Together as a team, as we silently and mentally recite this ease, as we inhale, let's advance the tip of our right thumb, beginning with our right little finger. Let's do this together as a team. Well, that's our first. So how are we going to count 12 sets of these? Simple. On our left hand, we count sets. Our first set, and begin on our index finger and move our way to our little finger. Index finger, and then third, fourth, then fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th. Now, yes, this is ungainly. I'll tell you what. Play with this with me once every 12 hours for 2 weeks or so. And then you can judge whether or not it's doable. We turn now to the second bit of Maha-yoga's iconography. The translucence of the All Good Ones remind us that as we meditatively ease into our exhalation, all that we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less solid, less permanent, and less defining. Now a bit of the old Anu Yoga's bliss and release. Akshobhyama karma mudras, whom water element at our heart will, is accessed by resting the great knuckle, is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger gently upon the tip of our left. I forgot to mention this is Ati Yoga. And we start our three-part cycle again. We're returning to Mahayoga's iconography. The beauty of the All Good Ones reminds us of the highest love, which is the spontaneous, uncontrived, and effortless product of training in mindfulness and meditation. Ranasambhava karma mudras tramatala mentaron wheel. I just had an idea. Never mind. Is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger. Boy, I'm having trouble with this. Is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger, reached gently upon the tip of our left. So having completed Anu Yoga's bliss and release, we return to Ati Yoga's spontaneous awareness and release. We return to Mahayoga's iconography. Let's chant. The stability with which he sits and the abandon with which she sports reminds us of the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity. Excuse me. The product of training in mindfulness and meditation. One moment, if you please. Okay, thank you for your patience. Amuga Siddhi Karma Mudras on Wind. element at our secret wheel. Ah. Okay. Amoga city karma mooners wind element at our secret wheel. Is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of a... Is accessed by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger gently upon the tip of our left. Let us seal this practice. Let us seal this practice by chanting Mahayoga's love and release, wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. So these aren't prayers, these are just words that we're using to guide our intention. May all lots of all beings appearing in for no be as safely fortunate as a pure land of lore depicted in Buddhist paintings. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void no be as peaceful enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a unsearchable Bisha. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void no be as joyfully loving as a Buddha speech symbolized by a mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void no be as beautifully healthy as a yidam archetype depicted in Buddhist statuary. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.